The strange thing about the middle class today is that many people look normal from the outside and feel broke on the inside. They have jobs, cars, phones, and maybe even a decent house. But every month feels like a financial obstacle course. This is not old-fashioned poverty. It is a different kind of pressure, expensive normal life. The middle class was supposed to mean safety. Now it often means being too rich for help and too stretched for comfort. That is why people can earn more than their parents and still feel less secure. The paycheck got bigger. The mandatory costs got bigger faster. And when every basic part of life becomes a subscription to survival, income alone stops telling the whole story. This video is about why the middle class feels poor now, even when it does not look poor. Start with the old promise: work hard, earn a steady income, buy a home, raise a family, and slowly build stability. That promise was never equally available to everyone, but for millions, it at least felt believable. Today, the shape of the promise has changed. The ladder is still advertised, but the rungs cost more. Housing is the first and biggest pressure point. A middle-class income used to make decent housing feel attainable in many places. Now, it often buys a bidding war, a long commute, or a smaller life. If you rent, the rent can rise faster than your confidence. If you buy, the mortgage payment is only the cover charge. Property taxes, insurance, repairs, utilities, and maintenance keep reminding you that owning is not the end of expenses. The cruel joke is that housing is both shelter and status, so people feel judged for struggling with something everyone needs. Then comes transportation. For many families, a car is not a luxury item. It is the ticket required to reach work, school, groceries, and medical care. In many towns, no car means fewer options, fewer jobs, and less control over your schedule. But the car itself keeps charging rent on your life, payment, insurance, repairs, gas, tires, and time. It is not one bill. It is a whole second household budget on wheels. A small repair can ruin the month. A bigger repair can turn into credit card debt. So the middle class can own the car and still feel owned by the car. Next is healthcare, where being middle class can mean paying full price for fear. A routine appointment can feel like opening a mystery bill. Premiums, deductibles, co-pays, prescriptions, and surprise bills all make health feel like another financial risk category. Even insured families can delay care because the price is unclear until after the decision is made. That uncertainty changes behavior. People do not just ask, "Do I need care?" They ask, "Can I survive the bill?" That is not how security is supposed to feel. Then there is childcare, one of the least glamorous luxury expenses in modern life. It is the kind of bill that arrives before a parent can even build wealth. For working parents, childcare is not optional. It is the infrastructure that allows income to exist. But when care costs rival rent or a mortgage, two-income survival starts looking strangely fragile. The family is technically moving forward, but the margin keeps getting thinner. Some families work more just to afford the care that lets them work more. That loop is not laziness. It is system design with a babysitter invoice attached. The absurd part is how normal the loop has become. Food is another place where the middle class feels the squeeze quietly. People may still buy groceries, but they buy them with more mental math, substitutions, and small humiliations. The old grocery cart felt routine. The new grocery cart feels like a negotiation. A family does not need to be starving to feel that food has become financially aggressive. It is not famine, it is the constant awareness that everything basic costs more. Now add insurance. Insurance is supposed to reduce anxiety, but rising premiums can become the anxiety. The product meant to create peace of mind becomes another monthly stress test. Car insurance, home insurance, health insurance, and sometimes even pet insurance compete for the same paycheck. The middle-class household becomes a machine for paying to prevent disasters it still cannot fully afford. The household pays for safety while still feeling exposed. And then there is debt. Debt used to be sold as a bridge. For many people, it now feels like the floor underneath normal life. The bridge became permanent, and people started decorating it like a home. Credit cards fill gaps. Car loans stretch transportation. Student loans carry old dreams into current bills. Installments make purchases feel smaller, but they also spread today's stress across tomorrow's paycheck. Convenience quietly becomes a claim on future income. The problem is not that every debt is bad. The problem is when debt becomes the price of staying normal. This is where the middle class starts to feel fake rich. It is a strange kind of wealth, visible purchases, invisible panic. The outside says stable. The inside says one emergency away. And that is why the lifestyle can photograph well while the budget feels wounded. That gap creates a weird shame, because people feel they should be doing fine. They are not comparing themselves only to poverty. They are comparing themselves to the version of middle class they were promised. That comparison hurts, because the old promise was not just money, it was breathing room. And the promised version had more slack. Slack is the invisible luxury nobody talks about. Without slack, every small surprise becomes a serious event. Slack means a surprise bill is annoying, not catastrophic. Slack means you can wait for the right job, not just the next paycheck. Slack means a child's activity, a dentist visit, or a broken appliance does not require a family crisis meeting. That is the quiet difference between a hard month and a destabilizing month. The modern middle class often has income without slack. That is why the numbers can look respectable and the life can still feel tight. Respectable numbers do not matter much when every dollar already has a destination. Another pressure is status inflation. Normal life now comes with upgraded expectations, better phones, nicer cars, better experiences, better photos, better everything. The baseline keeps rising, and people often do not notice until they are exhausted. Nobody forces every purchase, but social comparison quietly raises the price of belonging. The middle class used to buy comfort. Now it is often buying proof that it has not fallen behind. Comfort gets confused with performance. This is where criticism has to be honest. Some people do overspend. Some families do chase status they cannot afford. But blaming every squeezed household on bad choices is lazy. The big bills are not imaginary. The receipts are real, and the pressure shows up before any personal mistake. You cannot budget your way out of rent that doubled faster than your wage. At some point, the rent is not a lifestyle choice. It is the market speaking loudly. You cannot cancel enough coffees to make childcare affordable. You cannot positive think your way through a medical deductible. That kind of advice sounds motivational only if you ignore the spreadsheet. Personal responsibility matters, but math matters too. The useful lesson is not give up. It is stop measuring your life by the old middle-class script. It is to rewrite the definition of success around actual control. The old script says buy the house, own the car, upgrade the lifestyle, and prove stability. The smarter script asks, what actually gives you margin, options, and peace? Those are better measurements than applause from people who do not see your bills. Sometimes renting longer is not failure. It is buying flexibility. Sometimes the cheaper car is not embarrassing. It is financial self-defense. A boring payment can be a beautiful thing if it leaves room to breathe. Sometimes saying no to status is the most middle-class survival skill left. The goal is not to look stable. The goal is to actually be stable. That means understanding fixed costs first. Housing, transportation, healthcare, childcare, insurance, debt, and taxes are the real skeleton of your life. They are not background details, they are the architecture of the month. If those bones are too heavy, no amount of small hacks will make the body move freely. Small savings help, but they cannot carry a budget crushed by fixed obligations. This is why income can rise and freedom can still fall. Middle-class pressure is not just about money spent. It is about money already spoken for. The question is not only what you earn, but how much of it is already captured. Before the month begins, the month is already crowded. The calendar may say a new month started, but the money is already spoken for. Companies understand this too. That is why so much of modern life is built around monthly payments. Monthly payments make expensive things feel smaller, but they also make life feel permanently rented. The monthly number looks harmless until 20 of them line up together. You do not feel one giant bill. You feel 100 small leaks. This is also why customer service feels worse when you are ordinary. The premium lane is expanding and the basic lane is getting thinner. Middle-class people often pay enough to expect decent treatment, but not enough to receive elite treatment. That creates the feeling of being squeezed from both directions. Too comfortable to qualify for sympathy, too squeezed to feel secure. From above, the middle class looks fine. From inside, it feels like permanent maintenance mode. That is why people can look fine and still feel like they are one notice away from trouble. And that is the emotional core of the problem. People are not only tired because life costs more, they are tired because normal now requires constant management. The exhaustion is administrative as much as financial. You manage subscriptions, benefits, claims, rates, renewals, passwords, schedules, and payments. Every task is small, but together they turn adulthood into permanent maintenance. The middle-class dream did not disappear overnight. It became admin-heavy, debt-supported, and fragile. So yes, the middle class feels poor because the definition of normal became more expensive. But the answer is not simply to romanticize the past. Some parts of modern life are better: technology, healthcare possibilities, education access, remote work, and wider choices. The problem is that many improvements arrived with recurring bills attached. Progress became more available, but not always more affordable. So the smarter conclusion is practical. Practical does not mean cynical. It means choosing the version of stability that actually protects you. Do not chase the old script blindly. Audit the costs that own your future. The first audit is not moral, it is mathematical. Protect slack before status. Treat fixed costs like life decisions, not just monthly bills. Be careful with anything that makes you look richer while making your month tighter. And remember that feeling poor on a middle-class income is not always a personal failure. Sometimes the person did the math right and the system changed the equation. Sometimes it is the result of a system that kept the middle-class image and raised the subscription price. The old middle-class dream was about stability. The new challenge is to rebuild stability without worshiping the old symbols. Because the point was never to own the perfect house, car, or lifestyle. The point was to have enough room to live without every month feeling like a test. Room is the real luxury when every obligation wants a piece of you. That is what many people are missing now, not luxury, but margin. Margin is what makes a life feel owned instead of rented. And until normal life becomes less expensive to maintain, the middle class will keep asking the same question. Until that changes, the pressure will keep showing up in ordinary households. How can I be doing everything right and still feel behind? That question is the real story of why the middle class feels poor now.